But again, what happens to such individuals thereafter? The people know best, know better.
Yes, but he's an honorable member that is supposed to make
some of them don't get a second chance.
That are supposed to make laws for good governance. The fact that he doesn't get a second chance, does that mean that the period in which he honorably presided over our affairs is justifiable?
Well, Prof. I mean, I did ask Senator Womboshi that many will think that, well, politicians will always play politics and use whatever means possible to achieve their aim, whatever their aims are. So some suggest that, look, in order for the public to be beneficiaries of maybe this as is going on, because that's part of what I did ask him, why don't we just think about, let them change the way it is, rather than just submit those forms to the CCB. Let it go public so that everybody will see it. So no one will hide under any fact that, okay, well, it could be witch hunting because they think I'm a witch, or why is it this form or that form, or I've been this and that, so why didn't you check that one, why do you have to come back to this one? Wouldn't that put paid to all of those?
Well, I am not in support of public declaration of assets.
Why?
Simple reason is, some of these public officers, before they get to the National Assembly, have engaged themselves in profitable endeavors and may have substantial assets or wealth. And we live in a society where if everybody knows what you are worth, they actually don't draw a distinction between liquid assets and illiquid assets. And every member of your family, every member of your community wants you to bear their burden. So to put his investments and his assets on the public domain simply because he has opted to serve will unduly put communal pressures, extended family pressures on that individual.
But doesn't it also put a big burden on them, for them? Because this communal pressure, this family pressures that we talk about,
yes,
as a result of the society that we live in,
yes,
society that the leaders themselves have created, doesn't it then put a burden on them to ensure that these people are taken care of through the government that they will be serving?
Yes, that burden is always there, but it will place on them, okay, an unnecessary exposure as to their own private efforts. Particularly if you've been in the private sector all your life and you justifiably have opportunities to earn legitimate income and you have made your mark in certain respects. Just because you've now decided to serve does not guarantee that that should be in the public in the public domain.
But it's public office.
This is public
funds.
No, not public funds.
No.
We're talking of his personal wealth.
No,
but this is what I think is actually wrong with the system. You know, what is giving vent to all this talk about witch hunting and all of that is the fact that the CCB, the bureau itself, is probably not doing its work. You know, I had said somewhere that, look, if since the trial of Saraki at the CCT, the bureau itself has filed more charges against some other prominent actors, or even less prominent actors, then we can justifiably see that the CCB is working. Because the essence of the declaration, the provisions are, you know, very nicely placed. When you assume office, you declare your assets. 4 years down the line, if your term still stretches beyond 4 years, you declare your assets. Otherwise, if your term terminates either before 4 years or at the end of 4 years, you declare your assets. All of this information you place to the CCB. Now, it simply means that this CCB is actually a verification agency. They're supposed to have the complement of staff and resources to be able to verify all assets declared at the point of inception of office vis-a-vis what you declare at the end. Not only that, to also do extra investigation to be able to see whether this man has something or somewhere else other than what is declaring at the end of the tenure, whether something is hidden. It's investigative. In fact, they should have the full complement of services like the SSS, like the EFCC, to be able to dig and then if you look at the number of public officers that are covered under the Constitution to declare their assets, you then wonder whether they have been equipped to do this job, and whether they are doing this job. Actually, that is what I see wrong with the entire system. It's not a question of why me, but it's a question of, hey, are you doing your job? Are you doing it enough? After all, in arrest and detection of crime, there's profiling.
Yeah, but
if we start profiling with the local government chairman,
doesn't it go back to the same thing? If people don't know what you've got, how do they know that the tribunal?
That's what the CCB is supposed to do. The public is not to do the job of the CCB.
No, but if the
CCB should be equipped enough to be able to say, hey, Suleiman, this is what you declared before. This is what you're declaring now. This is what we found out.
So there must be a before, after, and confirmation.
And confirmation, yes.
If people have got to go to court to lay hands on those documents, you can imagine how easy it would be then to then put pressure on them. Saying, no, you're not doing your job.
The Freedom of Information Act really doesn't give that to you.
You know, we're almost out of time, but very quickly, the minister's list is one other aspect that we would have loved to hear a word or two from you. What do you think we're likely to expect today, being the end of the month, that we got the promise from the presidency?
Well, I join in the general expectation of all. We're all looking forward to that list. We had anticipated that the list will be out by today. Maybe if it's not today, maybe the October 1st broadcast will herald the list of new ministers. Again, there will also be the issue of whether that is within September 30th or 1st October. You know, but the expectations are great. And from the names that have been bantered in the press, we see individuals with the right caliber of qualification, with the right kind of repute to be able to steer the ministries that are there. And I also believe it's not too late. I also believe it's not too late. I think what the president did by delaying the appointment of ministers was a very tactical, effective tool of garnering enough information from what is happening in each of the ministries, from all the permanent secretaries, particularly when, you know, the issue of the quality of the content of handover notes was an issue when the PDP handed over to the APC. You know, the quality of handing over notes was lampooned in the press and all of that, meaning that the government, when it came in, really didn't have the facts of what is on ground. And so for a new team, you require detailed facts about what is going on in each of the ministries, and the permanent secretaries were the right persons to deliver that information to the president without political filtering by ministers.
You think that's where the tag then makers came about?
Yes, yes. You know, so I think it was a very strategic thing of Mr. President, and now we're going to have new ministers who, when they assume office, the president and his team are going to be able to say, hey, here's your portfolio. This is what is in it, and this is what we expect you to deliver.
So, no noise making.
No noise making.
Thank you very much indeed. Professor Joseph Abugu is a lecturer in the Faculty of Law, University of Lagos. We appreciate your coming on today.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a moment. Don't go.